So please come forward. The front seats are no more expensive than the ones in the back. And thank you for being here this evening.
These are the expensive seats?
Those are the really expensive seats. I don't know if they're expensive, but they're hot. So thank you for joining us this evening for what Milt Thomas and I hope is a thoughtful discussion about a wide range of issues that are facing the community and are clearly important to voters. Milt, my co-conspirator at Inside Vero, will moderate the first hour. We'll take a 5-minute break, a short break, just so people can just take a break and use the restroom if you need to. But please keep that break short so that we can get the second segment started. We're going to begin discussing quality of life issues and a number of other issues unrelated, at least unrelated directly to the electric sale. We're going to save the discussion for that from later in the second half, because what we're hearing is that there are other issues that are very important for voters to hear about as well. So let me introduce my colleague, Milt Thomas, who's going to moderate the first hour, and let me thank all of the candidates for being with us: Brian Hetty, Jay Kramer, Randy Old, and Jack Shute. Thank you for being here this evening.
Mark, before you give up that microphone and you introduced 4 candidates, there's 7 candidates in this race?
Right, and 3 of them couldn't join us tonight, or didn't join us tonight.
Okay.
Right. But let me also introduce Wayne with Idea Garden Advertising, who's going to record this for posting on Inside Vero, and Justo is with Channel 10. The discussion this evening will be rebroadcast a number of times on Channel 10, and we're grateful to Justo for being here and for Jose for making that possible. And thank you for whatever you may have done to help that along. Milt Thomas.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to sit down because the way we're set up here, we're set up to all be on the same level. And I don't like to talk down to people. So I'm right next to you. But we have a very large agenda tonight. We're talking about a number of subjects, and we're trying to compress it into 2 hours. So we're going to ask the audience not to ask questions during this 2-hour period. And the candidates will be here after we're done. You can ask them individually if you have questions that you want to find out from them. That would be the time to bring it up. But we're going to start talking about the quality of life in Vero Beach, something that's important to all of us here. The longer you've been here, the more important it is to you, I think. I've been here since 1956, so it's very important to me. But there's certain issues of quality of life that we want to address. The first one is to do with services, and that's with police, recreation department, our parks, our cemetery, lifeguard protection, and things of this nature. Now, the first question I'm going to ask is which municipal services currently provided by the city are important to continue, and at what level of staffing and funding? And I'm going to start with Brian Hetty, who's right next to me.
All of them.
Okay.
They're all important. And the staffing, I think that the city council has gone through a lot of exercises in trying to reduce the staff, and I think that if you look around, you'll see that some of the staffing levels they have been cut. They aren't where they were, and I don't think that a city council member should be the one determining what a manager needs in terms of staffing. I think that if the manager of a particular department is overstaffing his department, then you need to replace the manager. And I have yet to have anybody produce any hard evidence that any one of the departments at this point is overstaffed.
Okay. I just realized I thought Mark was going to have each candidate give an opening statement. And
we'll come around to it.
okay, we'll come around to it. So we'll answer this question, then we'll come back to the opening statement. But Jay, you're next. What are your thoughts on the subject?
Well, when we're talking about staffing as being overstaffed or understaffed, you know, the important thing is that we find the position of being right-sized or right amount of staffed. You know, the last 4 years, we've taken an approach where we have cut an awful lot of things out of the budget. We've cut staff, and in some of the areas, we've cut too much. But we've found out what the appropriate level of staffing is on some of those areas, and we've had to put back some staff members in some of those areas. I think it's important that as a council person, you're not afraid to kind of go down the road of cutting, but you've also got to realize that there is a point where you've cut too far. I think we kind of did that with the public works, you know, when we started outsourcing a lot of our grass cutting. You know, that was maybe going just a little bit too far. You know, I think, you know, in the planning and zoning area, Tim McGarry got cut short-staffed, and all of a sudden we've got a backlog of a lot of issues, and we just can't get them done quick enough. But to say that, you know, we've got some areas that are overstaffed or understaffed, we're moving ahead with finding that fine line of being right-sized, and I think that's what you've got to do going forward is don't be afraid to right-size your staff load.
Okay. Randy?
Being new to this, I didn't have any history of what was the staffing before, and so I looked through the financials and found that actually since '07 we've gone from 543 people down to 396 in the city, which is a huge change in staffing. And I went to each one of the departments, and all of them talked about being low in staffing and being close to the breaking point, kind of, but none of them said that I was beyond that. But I agree with Jay. I think some of the areas that we've gone a little bit too far. The grass cutting is one of them, and I think based on what happened this summer, I think we could do something with some more lifeguards, bringing back some lifeguards. I think over near the Ocean Grill, that kind of area, we could do with somebody there. And I think there's some other areas to look at, but we are down at the bottom, and we've done a very good job of controlling, but we've gotten a little bit low.
Okay. Jack?
I'm in agreement with the aforementioned people. I think Vero is at bare bones right now with the level of services, and I would hate to see the staff go any lower. In my career, I worked for a large organization, and like a lot of companies, they went into the downsizing thing because of budgets, and that's essentially what happened here in Vero. But you've got to be careful. You can't save your way to success. And you can reach, you know, the economic law of diminishing return comes into play. You can just pinch something so far that it no longer functions, it no longer works. And philosophically, having been involved in that routine before, I don't like the idea of trimming everything the same amount. You take a number and everybody's going to be cut 3% or 10%. Some services can't be measured on an equal basis like that. You get into, just two that come to mind, police and recreation. One is a necessity for our safety, and the other one is part of the fiber and glue that holds our community together. So what we have now, I wouldn't touch a single thing. I look forward optimistically to the day that we get an uptick in our economy. And when it comes back, I don't think we should build everything back up equally, but rather on need of different departments.
Thank you, Jack. Now I'm going to step back a moment and catch up on the opening statements. And I'd like to ask that each of you have 2 minutes, keep it to 2 minutes, and we'll try to time it. So far, you're doing a really good job on the time. And I'm going to start with Jay, since we already started with Brian on the last question.
Well, you know, there's 3 areas that I think, you know, I'm really going to try to push for, and I got to apologize to Mr. Winger, because I'm kind of picking up his campaign slogan of keeping Vero Vero, but I cannot think of a better way to to communicate to the public that we really do live in a special place, and we really have got something that's worth saving and worth fighting for. You know, our heritage here is absolutely amazing. We've got a lagoon that really defines who we are. When you say Vero Beach, it implies beach, it implies water. We've got to make sure that we continue with our actions with pulling the septic systems off the river and do it economically, so people actually want to do that. And I think we're getting in that position. We're starting to do an awful lot of ordinances to prevent some of the elements that would normally drive our neighborhoods crazy. I know many of you probably realize I'm talking about short-term rentals. I've got some in my neighborhood. Not necessarily that I'm against them in my neighborhood, but I sure would like the tools to make sure that it doesn't get caught out of hand. I mean, this is our home. We need to keep it that way. Is that my 2-minute deal?
It's good enough.
All right. Well, I was going to go to electric, but I'm sure we'll cover that.
It's been covered in the second half of the program. I'm sure many people have questions on that, but we'll save that for the second part that Mark is handling. Okay, Randy?
I'm new to the neighborhood, so I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. I went to the University of North Carolina. I was in political science. I learned Chinese. I was in the Army with Japanese. I was a Japanese linguist. I joined Chase out of the Army and went through a management training program and went to Singapore, Tokyo, and then opened a branch in the Middle East in Jordan. After that, I was asked to open an office in London for a Midwest bank that wanted to have a Middle East Africa division. So I studied the areas that they wanted to lend and gave them a risk analysis on those. Lastly, I was asked to close a bank in Washington by the Federal Reserve in the Central Bank of Jordan that had a lot of fraud in it, and so I went to about 20 or 30 countries and collected money on their behalf. So my background is finance. During the period I lived in Jordan, I got involved in archaeology. I've been on a board there for 25 years. We do about 15 digs a year. I'm also on a board here, the Vero Man site here, and I'm on the commission, the Finance Commission here. My background, basically, I looked at new things, different things each time that I had a job. Very much like archaeology. When you open up an excavation, you look at all the little bits and pieces, and none of the pieces themselves are important, but when you put them all together, it creates a picture. And that's what I would like to be doing here, is looking at the different issues, seeing the picture that it creates, working toward a goal, setting a plan out, and attaching that to our vision. So I'm very much looking forward to getting on the council and using my business past to help out with making Vero the way I'd like to see it and the way we'd all like to see it. Very nice place to live.
Great. Jack?
I come to the, my interest in the council was to serve the people of Vero Beach. I come from Washington, D.C., where I had a career with National Geographic Society. I traveled worldwide. I was a director of a large department, had a staff of 114, got involved in complicated things. I ran a budget anywhere from $13 to $18 million a year. But I was always involved in people activity. Where Brian and I live, as he knows, I'm one of the tyrants over there. I'm the vice president of the Homeowners Association. I'm the former president of that association. But I've always been involved in activity in my community. I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission here. I'm presently a member of the Utilities Commission. And I don't come to this job with a personal agenda. I don't have a particular item that I want to champion and say, elect me and I'm going to do A, B, and C. I think it's time for us to listen to the city and see what bubbles up and things that are important to them. And I think we've had a long stretch of personal agendas, and I think it slows down some of the real work that needs to be done. That's my interest.
Thank you. And Brian?
Yeah, I'm Brian Hetty. I work for the Veterans Council and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and hence the flag shirts. And I host a television program on TV 10, Fired Up with Brian Hetty. And I can very easily get fired up over some of the things that I see going on in this community. And I'm sure that there are a number of taxpayers that get pretty fired up when they look at their electric bill or when they look at their tax bill. We heard from one of the candidates tonight and said that you can't save your way into success, and I would agree, that's accurate. But I think more importantly, if you're an elected official, you need to remember, and not many elected officials remember this, that you can't spend your way into prosperity. But it's easy to do when you're spending somebody else's money, and too many elected officials, too many government officials think that it's perfectly okay to spend your money in any way at all without concern for how deep your pockets actually are. I have served on City Council from 2009. I served 2 years. And I've served on the Utility Commission, and I currently serve on the high-speed rail. High-speed rail is a hot-button issue in the community, and I think that somewhere on the agenda we're going to be talking about that too.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Brian. Now we turn back to the quality of life issues, and we're going to start with Randy. The issue is about utilities other than Vero Electric. We'll get to that the second half. But we're talking about water and sewer and solid waste. And the question is, should the city continue to own and operate these enterprises, or would it be best to consider selling and/or consolidating either or both of the utilities with the county?
I think there are two considerations. One, will it save us money, or will it save the citizens of the area money? And second, would it improve or hold level the service you get? And I think we've tried it already with the water and sewer, and we looked at the price, and it was going to give us the same service or worse service for a higher price, and we decided not to do that. And if we did it with the solid waste, I think the idea was to go out to bid and to tender with a waste management company, and that turned out to be more expensive for everybody too. So I think what we've done is we've tried and looked genuinely at selling off parts and pieces of the city or consolidating with the county, and we've gotten to the point where we've said no, we're where we want to be, we're there, and let's stop. So that's what my point is.
Jack?
I'm very basic on that question. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that the level of services we have with waste management, with water and sewer, what would concern me, I think the level of service is fantastic. I think the customer service especially is excellent. And if we gave that to the county and they managed those utilities, you introduce another layer of bureaucracy, so to speak, and there are going to be more people involved. I think it's going to be more complicated to get your quick fix to your particular problem that you have as a resident. And I've been here 7 years and have yet not to have excellent service at any one of those services that I call for whatever reason. So I wouldn't tamper with it.
Well, I think the proposal is to come up with a waste management deal for the entire county, including Vero Beach. I think that's what the county's looking for. And I don't know, does that create another layer of bureaucracy? If you're going to have a private company handle all of the waste management duties.
But I don't know if would the cost be.
No,
what
we
I've
are
seen-
saying adding a level of bureaucracy, but if it's taking it out of the hands of the local government and being put to a private company, would that be creating a layer of bureaucracy?
I think it would. Yeah. my opinion.
Brian?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The activists that are concerned about the solid waste and the activists that are concerned about the water or sewer don't live in the city. And so many of these people that have these fixes for our city don't live in the city. And when I talk to city residents, I don't hear any complaints about the water and sewer. When I talk to city residents, I don't hear any complaints about the solid waste. And I can tell you, as a city resident, I don't have a problem with water and sewer, and I certainly don't have a problem with solid waste. Absolutely better than any place I've ever seen anywhere. And I've lived in lots of places, and been here in Vero Beach for, I don't know, over 25 years now, I guess. But I know that there's a few, probably in the county, that would like to see that come to an end and have me leave. I don't have any intentions of doing that. But yeah, the solid waste, these guys are great. And you know, if you forget to put your garbage out on the street, they'll come up to the side of your house and pick it up. I mean, these people are phenomenal. At a cheaper rate than we could get if we went to privatize. At a cheaper rate than what the county is paying. But the county activists want us to join them so that they can privatize it. And quite frankly, I'm not interested.
Jay?
Well, I distinctly remember this, the meeting where the county came and presented the idea of having us privatize our solid waste system. And I distinctly remember looking at their sheet where the county was a much higher rate than what the cities were. And I was trying to sit here and think, you know, what's the benefit here? We get a lower quality of service. We're going to pay more money because now we've got them intermixed with the county, which is, you know, much more expensive. And we don't get a transfer, so we got to raise our taxes. You know, I think Brian's right. There's something wrong when the county people keep coming in. They keep trying to take our stuff, and it's, you know, we don't come out on the winning side on this thing. You know, the same thing happened with the water and sewer. I mean, what a great deal. Higher taxes, lower quality of service, higher rates. You know, I don't think people understand that when Glenn Hare and Faraday talked the county residents into going to county rates, guess what? We made more money. Thanks, guys. You know, it was not a good deal. So really what happened is that the utility activists really stuck it to the county residents by having them follow their ideas. We're glad that we didn't follow those ideas. And had we gone down that road, we would not have been able to implement the STEP system and start getting the septic systems off the lagoon, which really needs to be a priority coming in these next several years.
Very good. Well, we're coming to the next question now, which is about infrastructure. And of course, infrastructure is important because you want to ride on roads that don't have potholes, and you want to have the roads there that can handle the traffic that we've got, but also that they're maintained properly. And so currently the city is underfunding public works on street maintenance and the installation of stormwater outfalls. So the question is, do you support forming a stormwater utility to raise the funds needed to accelerate the pace of the installation of stormwater outfalls? And also, how would you address the underfunding of street maintenance and our other capital improvement needs? And then what should the city do to maintain its infrastructure? And I'll be happy to repeat the question if I need to. And we should start, I guess we start with Jack this time.
Do you think I have a clue to the answer to that question? I mean, even remotely? No, well, let me take pieces of it. No one likes to tax, but I do like the concept of the storm sewer tax. It's certainly something that before I would say yay or nay, I would want to personally be involved in the debate surrounding the pros and the cons of that issue. I don't use it as a crutch, but I keep looking back at the reality of the economic times we live in. And some things are just not going to be funded the way they should be. And you don't want to have a city full of potholes, but capital expenditures on a variety of different items they're going to just have to come up on an as-needed basis and have a discussion and a debate to find the funding for it.
Okay. Brian?
One of the things that I do during the week, this morning I was up at 4:30. I was up at 4. I was driving a Department of Veterans Affairs vehicle at 4:30 this morning, picking veterans up to sick and disabled veterans to transport them down to West Palm Beach. And one of the things I saw was the street cleaner going around and keeping our streets clean. And that's the kind of infrastructure. That's how we keep things up here in Vero Beach. Is we maintain them and we keep things clean. I'm not at all interested in creating a new bureaucracy, a new level of government for the stormwater. If we need something to stop stormwater from going into the lagoon, then let's put it in next year's budget. Let's start doing it. Create a new level of government for that. Not at all interested.
Jay?
Well, let me see if I can answer this multi-part question. I think the first thing was the Stormwater Utility Authority, which I'm definitely in favor for. You know, what happens is you're creating a tax that is directly related to the use. The more concrete that you have, the more taxes you pay because of the stormwater runoff. Likewise, if you just got a house with a gravel driveway, you really shouldn't pay anything because you're not contributing any load to the wastewater system. The way that I was explained that it would be implemented is that we would really just have Public Works run the thing. There would not be an additional layer. There would not be more people hired for it. It would just be a separate expense, revenue and expense coming through. But we want to make sure that, the people that are out there that are putting out these huge, concrete parking lots, a lot of them are churches, a lot of them are other schools or county facilities. They don't pay us anything, but it is all the residents who, do not have these large surfaces that end up paying for it. And we got to make sure it's on a use so that we don't end up paying for their load. As far as the infrastructure, we're actually in the process, and we'll talk about the trains later, I'm sure.
It's a slow speed train.
We're in the process of getting out from underneath the Dodgertown land. And the reason that's important is that years ago, we paid for that land and we pledged our 1 cent sales tax that we get for infrastructure improvements and to maintain our roads. We're at that process where the council has said, hey, we need to get out from underneath of that. We need to get as much money out of that as we can so that we can get back to using that 1 cent sales tax money to fund our roads and maintain our roads. Once we get out of that, we'll be able to increase the amount of stormwater outfalls that are installed to help the lagoon. We'll accelerate that process, and we'll also have money to help fix the roads and fix our streets.
I agree with Jay that we ought to set up this authority, this utility authority. I think right now the estimates are that we would really take care of a lot of the stormwater issues over a 19-year period. And if we went to this utility authority, we could do it in more like 5 years. So we really have to pay attention to this lagoon. It's really an issue, and the sooner we attack it, the better. And so I'm very much for that. In terms of the roads, Jay mentioned the Dodger sale, and that's a very good idea. And that would release some money so we could look at it. But I think we really need to stop and think and study what the roads really need. And during the budget process, we decided to spend $200,000 a year on the road repair. It was estimated that if we were going to repair the roads every 15 years, which is conceptually what people want to do, it cost between $600,000 and $800,000 a year. So it looked like we were about $400,000 off. But you need to look at what the condition of the roads are right now, or what the condition is right now, and decide which roads need to be repaired and what that cost would be, and then lay it out over a period of time and plan ahead of time of what you need to spend on roads every year. I don't think every single road needs to be repaired to a 15-year time frame. I think the highly traveled ones probably more, and the other ones less. So I think we need to figure out what we actually need to spend and then go ahead and lay it out in a long-range plan that, that could be set up and use some of the funds from Town or other uses for doing that. Thank you.
Well, I have a question, and probably it's only fair to ask Jay since he's the lone incumbent sitting up here. But when we're talking about $600,000 or $400,000 for that we have a shortfall for infrastructure, in terms of taxes and tax base in Vero Beach, what are we talking about in hard dollars to somebody who owns, say, a $200,000 home? To be able to afford the $400,000 or the $600,000 that's needed for this infrastructure improvement, how much does it actually cost a homeowner?
Well, keep in mind, it comes from the 1-cent sales tax on gasoline. So, this is a use tax that comes from people that buy gasoline within Indian River County, and then we are apportioned that tax based on our population. Mm-hmm. So really, the homeowner, if they ride their bicycle to work every day, they don't pay anything. If they drive a big SUV, they're going to end up paying more than their fair share. So, I mean, it really depends on the gasoline that they use and what they pay for it. But additionally, the city council can fund more if they want. And then that becomes at the discretion of the council of just how much that they want to use tax money for that.
And then how much, is there a correlation between how much money is needed and how much money would it be taxed to, as far as an individual homeowner?
That gets into the science of the longevity of the road and the traffic count that's on that road. I mean, I would probably have to defer to Public Works on exactly how that is. I know Bill Messerschmidt would probably tell you right off the top of his head, but I couldn't tell you that.
Okay. The last question we have, as far as quality of life issues, concerns the proposed charter amendment. This came up, as everybody knows, when there was an attempt to sell of all things, primarily Crestlawn Cemetery, or lease it or turn it over into private hands. And it created quite an uproar in the public. And so now we're looking at the next election having a charter amendment that would prevent that from happening. So my question is, and starting with Brian, do you support the proposed amendment to the city charter designed to protect Crestlawn Cemetery and a long list of public lands from sale or lease without voter approval?
The short answer is yes. If you would like me to enlarge on the answer a little bit, I think it's outrageous that that was ever even being considered. And it's interesting to look at government, whether it's here locally in Vero Beach or on a federal level, and look at some of the things that they try to, and the clever word that they use today is monetize, and they want to, basically that's a tax increase. But on a federal level, the Department of Interior is, right now there's a plan where they're going to try to prohibit people from taking pictures in public parks so that the Department of Interior can sell those pictures to people. If you want a picture of Yosemite, you buy it from them. And I don't know how they could possibly prohibit people from taking pictures, but it's just a new way of trying to find some money, and that's what selling the cemetery was an effort to raise some money for government. And it's outrageous that they would want to sell the place where our ancestors are buried to make a few dollars. It's awful.
Jay?
This is one of those issues, I think it just underscores the danger of a one-issue election. You have individuals of which you elect into office based on one issue, but you really don't know how they feel on all of these other issues. And the emotions really on that one issue override everything else. In the cemetery issue, I mean, this just came out of left field one day at a council meeting, and it really took us all by surprise. We didn't have an outpouring from the public to say, we want to get rid of our cemetery. We didn't have that. But it came forward. They wanted to do an RFP, and we wanted to look at it. And it was plainly obvious very fast that the public just did not want this at all. And after that, I began to realize that there was a company that wanted to buy this, and it was a specific company. But I just don't see how you could easily sell off somebody's heritage and go against the veterans and a lot of our well-known community leaders and sell something like that. That was something that's distinctly Vero Beach. It's distinctly part of us, and it needs to stay with us.
Randy?
As a new candidate here, there's awful lot of things that I had no idea about coming into this position or trying to figure out what was going on in the city. One was this long list of lands that the city owns. And one of the council members, I think it was Amelia, told me I had to go look at all the parks. So I took this list and went around the city and found these 30 or more parks around the city, and I couldn't believe the properties we had, the shape they were in, the locations they were in, the use they were getting, and the popularity they had. And the fact that they really could be sold was surprising to me, especially the cemetery. I thought it was, I was surprised very much so, and I certainly commend the council for sticking up and holding on to these things and making sure it's a universal vote that gets rid of them.
I was shocked when the issue came up out of left field, and certainly I would support the amendment.
Good. We have a few minutes to remain on this quality of life issue, since you guys are all giving nice brief answers. And is there anything that any of you would like to add as input on the quality of life subject in general?
Well, if everybody's going to be quiet, I'll go ahead and speak up. One of the great things that this council has done is we have taken up projects that have come from the people of Vero Beach themselves. One of the things that I like to talk about is the business improvement district, which I know we have a few people here that support that. But having the community come together on such a thing like that is really something absolutely marvelous to see. And this community, when it comes together, it does absolutely amazing things. The other one was the dog park. I don't know if you've all actually been out to the dog park. I was out there this last weekend, and it was easily 40, 50, sometimes 60 people there at a time, and it just revolves and it just keeps coming. It's fastly becoming one of our busiest parks that before was absolutely nothing. There was nothing there. But we had a great amount of community people that wanted to come forth and do that project. And we had a council that says, you know what, let's let them do that. And I think it was probably the wisest thing that we ever did, and it's turning out that even the county residents are starting to see that Vero Beach is really a special place. And they're actually starting to really take a possession that they really want to defend the city, and I think that's really something that's just really amazing. I'd like to see that continue on into the future.
Anyone else?
I'm involved with the Vero Man site, and it's remarkable that something as sort of esoteric as this has grabbed on to the community as strongly as it has. Susan Grandpierre started this quite a number of years ago and put a lot of effort to get it going, and then the community has really latched onto it, and we've had I'm going to say almost 1,000 volunteers come and work out at the site, and it just is, the community really comes together and does things that they feel strongly about, and it's really been very interesting to be involved in the city. It's been a real pleasure, no question.
Jack?
I'm just amazed at the quality of our museum, our theaters, and the lifeblood that gives to this city. And I would just do anything and everything to keep all that flowing. It's just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, want to add anything?
No, we really do. We have the museum and the theater and the parks. It's a tremendous community, and I think that you do see people come together when there's some issue where, like the dog park, where people did use it, they were using it, and there were threats of taking it away from them. And they rallied, and the voters changed the council, and the current council is, and they kept it. Good job, Jay.
I can't take full credit for that.
Oh, I know. No,
No
but
way.
you're the only council member here. Good job.
Okay, we're going to move on. The next issue is something that maybe we want to get more cooperation from the county on this, but it's the lagoon issue. And it's a matter of what the city can do to help and address this crisis. Realizing that the Indian River Lagoon stretches through 4 or 5 counties, and you've got to get many municipalities and counties to come together with a common solution, and you're looking at me like that could never happen. But
You want cooperation from the county?
I know.
With the city?
and I haven't been smoking anything either.
Really?
But
I want some of what's ever in that Diet
Yeah.
Coke. And you know, if you look at right now with the lagoon issue in the county, my goodness, the county commissioners unanimously are pushing this thing forward when clearly the people don't want.
You mean the Oslo boat ramp?
Yeah. Clearly, the people don't want you to do something that is going to harm the lagoon. They want to do some things to fix the lagoon, and the county is doing things that will do further harm to the lagoon, and you want them to cooperate with us? They're doing exactly the opposite.
Okay, I'm sorry I brought it up.
Well, you got me fired up.
Yeah, that's unusual. But anyway, but what can the city do? Let's start with Jay.
Milt, let me say this. You know, I have worked with the county on a lot of these things, and amazingly, you know, there are a lot of things that we don't agree with on the county, but you know, there are some things that we do agree with on the county. And I've been to the county building many times, and I've sat down with a lot of the county commissioners, and we've talked about a lot of these things. You know, the other day, Tim Zork and we talked to the DOT about putting more baffle boxes on Highway 1 and finding out, you know, how can we, you know, ingrain our plans into the FDOT plans, Federal Department of Transportation, and try to get more of these lagoon-saving measures in play. You know, with the Dodgertown land, you know, I sat there with a lot of the county commissioners and says, you give us this opportunity to sell this land, which gives us our money back. You know, this gives us the opportunity to continue to improve our roads and improve, you know, again, the baffle boxes to be installed. It pushes up the timetable so we can get these installed sooner. You know, and a lot of the county commissioners, they nodded their head and they says, yeah, that's a really good idea, and they're on board with it. But you know, the county, they do have their ways of doing things. We have our ways of doing things. They don't always mix, but you know, there are those issues that we can come together with, and I look forward to when that happens. We can do some good things, but I wish they were a little more frequent than what they are.
Randy?
I think there's a lot of things that we can do just singly anyway. I think we're still trying to figure out where the nitrogen actually comes from, but it comes from at least 3 sources, and the 3 sources are fertilizer, which we've got an ordinance on fertilizer now, and the idea that stormwater, we're working on stormwater in this authority, which is good, and then the septic issue, septic sewer issue. We've got some tests going on and with the step system, which will slow down the seepage from septic into the lagoon. So I think the city is working on some good solutions to it. You certainly want to move each one along, like we're moving the stormwater issue along with this authority, so that the quicker we can get these things done, the better. And it also to improve the science, so we know actually where the nitrogen comes from, so we can zero in on that also. So we're moving along. We just got to keep the pressure on. I lived in Annapolis, Maryland for a while, and the Chesapeake Bay was an issue for years and years. And it just was a matter of everybody working together and taking steps forward as fast as you can to see if you can eliminate the issue. But it's a long-term plan, a long-term issue, and it needs long-term solutions. Thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, the city, from my point of view, has taken a real leadership role in the lagoon problem with the fertilizer ordinance, for example, the things that have been mentioned. And I think the hybrid septic system, which is, as you all know, being tested now, and it can be measured, the success of that can be measured in the quality of the water in the lagoon. Those things can only aid the county, but I think it goes beyond Indian River County. I think the lagoon issue is all of our neighbors to the north and to the south. And we've got to figure out a way that those counties and cities get together and do a hand-holding job, that as we have these successes, these individual successes along the way, there's some great things being done down in Stewart, that they get melded together as a unit, because the lagoon is a large body of water and it touches a lot of shores, and the city of Vero Beach alone is not going to solve that problem. But I think we've made fantastic strides in leadership to take on the problem.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, would you like to comment?
You want me to add to what I've already said? You know, you want cooperation from another government body that thinks it's a good idea to sue the city, file complaints against us. You know, I just don't see that happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's the last word on the subject. So, well, I want to thank you all for this is the first half of our program. We're going to take a short break. This is primarily a sandbox break. So if you need to use the restrooms, they're over here through this door on the side. And let's try to get back within the next 10 minutes.